Good morning. So this morning we are going to, let me back up. We're going to talk about nimble leadership. Can I just tell you this morning has already been a test of that. Technology not working, technology not in the right place, things like that just cause us to look at this subject and go, and when you think of the word nimble, you think of, maybe you don't, but I do. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over the candlestick. Good, thank you, good. I'm glad your parents taught you nursery rhymes. So, excuse me, one of the key things about nimble is the idea of just being able to change, being able to look at a situation and going, okay, that happened. How do we make the best out of that? I'm going to be honest with you, this is not a strong suit of mine. I like organization. I like things going A, B, C, D, E, F, go all the way to Z. I don't like A, B, C, D, jump over, go to J, and you don't have the other letters. I like, and maybe some of you in the room are like, what's the big deal? Why don't you just go with the flow? I try to. I'm not that good at it. But let me tell you why this is important for servant leadership. Because remember, servant leaders, you're seeking to be mission and vision driven. So you've got to serve the organization that you're a part of. Even your family. We do this as a family at our house. You've got to be able to serve what is the mission of our family. So one of the verses that we have for a family is Romans 12, which that doesn't surprise any of you. It's verse 9 and 10. Outdo one another in showing honor. And then another verse we use a lot, abhor what is evil. I've got a 14-year-old, I have a 12-year-old, and I have a 9-year-old. Yes, we have to teach them, and we have to abhor evil, meaning that when my oldest is driving me batty, I have to abhor that idea of anger just because he's acting like a daggone teenager. So the whole idea is servant leaders have to be mission and vision driven, but they also got to be customer focused. I got to know my kid, right? I got to know the people around me. If I don't, that's a blind spot. And even this week, I had some really good friends come in and help me with a blind spot of, hey, this is how this is perceived. So you've got to be mission and vision driven, but you've also got to be customer focused. And over the last couple of weeks, we've gone through these. Sacrificial leadership, we talked about that. Effective leadership, we talked about responsive leadership, visionary leadership. We talked about awareness when I was home with COVID. And now we're talking about nimble, and next month we will finish this out with trustworthy. The goal of this whole program is so that when you leave, you're able to go, what does it mean to be a servant leader? And maybe you'll remember, okay, sacrificial. Okay, I need to be a little bit more sacrificial in the way I respond to my team or to my boss or to a friend. So let's jump right into nimble, and I'm going to use this a little bit. But the one thing before we do this, the only reason why we do this is because God calls us to be exceptional. And the only way you can be exceptional is to strive for excellence and to give extraordinary effort. The results is not up to you. Think about that. They're not. Antonio, when you lead worship at church, the results are not up to you. It's to the bad sound guys that are in the back, which would be me. So the idea, I know the results aren't even me, because what happens if Antonio hits the wrong note, which he never does. But the whole idea of this is the results are not up to you. It's only the effort that's up to you. Nursing's the same way, right? Education, graphic design. You might have the perfect graphic design thing that you're looking at, but now the client doesn't like it. All you can control is that you strove for excellence and you gave it your absolute best. So what is nimble? Here's a definition I'd like to give you. Nimble servant leaders are alert. There's three phrases. They're alert, they're responsive, and they're willing and ready to change for the good of others. So number one, they're alert. They're responsive. We talked about responsive servant leaders. But then also they're willing and ready. Those two words are there for a reason. They're not just willing, they're ready. There's a difference between ready and willing. I can be willing to change, but am I really ready? Is my heart right? If I would have walked in this morning, and God had a perfect understanding of what I needed this morning. I got here this morning a little bit early, spent some time reading my Bible. If that wouldn't have been the case, this could have been a drastically different day. It really could have, and God knew that. I don't know why he got me up at 5 o'clock, but he did this morning, and that's okay. So I was here, and I think you have to be willing and ready to change, but not just to change for change's sake, but change for the good of others. All right, so let's break it down. Alert. Alert to the needs, the wants, the attitudes, the perceptions of their family, friends, teammates, customers, and themselves. Now, needs, wants, attitudes, perceptions. Where have we heard that? Needs, attitudes, wants, and perceptions. Wow, okay, it's about customer experience, right? It's about going, okay, what is Anna's needs? And that might be like Anna has been a summer camper here for years. So like when her summer camp comes, I've got to understand what their needs are so that I can serve them, so I can overserve them. What are their wants? Well, I know that they want a quick check-in. So let's make sure the check-in's great. What are their attitudes? Well, summer is stressful. And what are their perceptions? Well, Cedarville always has a brand new team every year. So how do I make sure that I'm alert of Wendy's needs, her wants, her attitudes, and her perceptions? That's the first thing you have to do about being alert. Second, you're alert and aware of the environment. And what I mean by that, the past, the current, and the future. I think a lot of times we're stuck in the past. We've always done it this way. Or, hey, I want to go this way in the future, but we don't take our time in the current. You've got to have the past, the current, and the future, so you have to be alert of that. So when I make decisions, I've got to look at those decisions based upon what could happen 5 years down the road. What could happen if I cancel this or I add this group? We just added a technology group. How is that going to affect the budget 5 years from now? Can we do that? Or when we readjusted SGA 5 years ago and took the media position away from SGA and put it in its own group, how would that be affected 5 years down the road? Would we still be able to provide the same service? So you got to be alert about the situation. Now you got to be responsive. You got to take the time to think. So a lot of times you run from point A to point B, and it's really easy to do as a college student. You have to build time in your schedule to stop. Because you're not going to be able to change if you don't have time to think and make sure, okay, God, what are you doing in my life right now? If I didn't have the time to think this morning, this would have been a drastically different day. I would have been flustered, I've been sweating, I would have been messed up. Yeah, so you've got to take the time to think, respond, don't react. You've got to have forward thinking, a what's next mindset. So how do I look at things from the perspective of what's next? And some of the things that I put down for this, I have it right here. You need to read. You need to listen. You need to discuss. And here's the last thing. You need to dream. So you need to read, you need to listen, you need to discuss, and you need to dream. It's okay to dream. I think one of the reasons why people don't change is because they don't dream. I'm satisfied with just coming into work every single day. No. How can I make this better? How can I make myself better? Dream a little bit. The last one on responsive is courageous. Are you willing to act? Think about the verse in Romans 12. Do not be conformed to this world, but be what? Transformed. What is the Bible saying there? It's saying that you need to be a disruptor, right? Be transformed, be different. But what do? Time and time and time again, especially in leadership. Well, this is the way that I'm expecting. No, be transformed. Be something that's not a conformer, but like a disturber of things. Disturb the status quo. An SGA band, disturb it. What can you do different? What can you do different in showing honor to PSG that has never been done before? That is nimble leadership, because change needs to happen. So we've seen alert, we've seen responsive, and then you got to be willing to change. So change is not a bad thing. A lot of times people look at change going, well, it's like they think of changing a baby's diaper. That's not a fun thing. But change is not a bad thing. It's a necessary thing. Because if you look at Cedarville last year compared to Cedarville this year, you couldn't operate the same, right? You would have to change. So change is not a bad thing. Look for the opportunity to be exceptional. Don't settle for the status quo. What that means, something might be going well. So the info team's doing really well, or Renova's doing really well. So the question is, Fabio's doing this right now. How do we make inventory better? Not that it's bad, but how do we make it better? Because that's an opportunity that will help and serve other people. There's nimble there. Encourage others to look for opportunities. Create an environment that encourages risk-taking and doesn't penalize failure. I try to ask my kids. I asked Keegan this last night. Where did you fail today? Well, there was a lot of areas that Keegan failed today or yesterday. And I'm like, all right, failure's not final. It's not fatal. What did you learn? You've got to create that environment where everybody is nimble. If the leader is the only one changing, then people look at the leader and go, okay, it's Brian again. He's changing again. But if we create the environment where everybody's able to have that courageous risk-taking, going, okay, I'm going to try this with the alt night. I'm going to try something in February that we've never done before. All right. Could it fail? Maybe. But that's okay. Failure's not final. It's not fatal. So you've got to be alert. You've got to be responsive. And then you've got to be willing and able to change. Okay? So that's really what nimble leadership is. And a perfect example of that, I want to end with this example, is last year about this time. Last year about this time, I'm getting ready for a Disney vacation. Who knows? We actually might be going to Disney in a couple of weeks, the 23rd through the 27th. I was there the same time last year. Went to D.C. right after that with Jake and some other people, and then COVID hit. And we had to really be, if you want to look at the word nimble of being alert, responsive, and willing to change, we drastically changed what we did so that the execs could still have 2 or 3 hours a week and get paid. We were one of the few offices that did that. We still had an end-of-the-year program. We still had an onboarding program where a lot of you might have been involved in that onboarding program that we didn't know how we were going to do, but that's because we were able to be nimble. And it's not just one person. Everybody was involved. Teresa was involved with rooms. Dan was involved with the students. You know, there's some offices that don't have enough work to do, but our office is actually probably busier than we've ever been, even though we're doing not the work that we're supposed to be doing. I think we don't have a lot of events, but they're delivering meals every day. Tim does dinner, and Lauren does lunch, and Christy does the vehicles. Think about that. You've got to be nimble, or what happens? This is the reality of it. Could the university come in and go, well, hey, we're not doing any events this year. Let's furlough those people. We could save some money. Didn't Disney do that? Yeah, 28,000 people. It was my job to protect their job. It's not bragging, but it was my job to say, okay, how do we change to make ourselves relevant in a COVID world where there's no events going on? And that happened because we were alert, we're responsive, and we were willing, but also able to change.